You ready for this week's question?
So this week's question is how we passed medical school interviews and our tips.
So it feels like such a long time ago now that we did our interviews, but we had mini interviews. So you go around a room, they ring a bell, you pop in, chat for 5 minutes, pop out, go to the next one, sort of like speed dating.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be caught dead in what I wore to my interview. It was disgusting. It was so bad.
Corporate.
Corporate attire.
One of the weird questions that I got asked, which kind of threw me a little bit in my interview, was...
Wait, you can't say, can you? You're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to say?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
not allowed to say.
Sorry.
Don't say, just in case, just in case the GMC call knocking on you.
The question, why do you want to do medicine? Make sure you have thought about that, because they always ask it in interviews, really. Because one interview I just said the complete wrong thing. I was just like, oh, it's because doctors are so respected, and I basically said something along the lines of like, oh, I want that respect. They don't say that. But I'm still here 5 years later.
You just go,
and about respect.
I want the respect, I want the money.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't get into Cardiff.
Preparation, I'd say, is quite difficult because you don't know. You hear things of what you might get. You can read things. You can talk to older students, but obviously, ultimately, you don't know. It's the fear of the unknown that you have.
I think the best preparation is just practice.
You do need some practice. I wouldn't just go into a medical school interview without ever practicing. Yeah. You just can't do that.
Go in and know a bit about the course before you go in. So
because they always like knowing about why you want to come maybe to the city or to that particular like medical school.
Like the fact that we do CBL, like read up a bit about what that is, because they might ask you, oh, what do you like about the course that you're going to be on when you come to Liverpool? And if you have no clue what they're going to do, then you're literally going to look like a bit of an idiot.
And that's good to like have a kind of like a knowledge reel to like say, but without sounding too robotic. So just know why you want to be at a place, rather than like a script.
I was fortunate because a family friend is a consultant, and he basically grilled me like once a week for about a month and a half before my med school interview. So he'd ask me really like intense questions like what is nice, what is like loads of different bodies and things within the NHS, as well as like anatomy and things like that, which is like over and above what they'll ask you in an interview. But his logic was like, if you go hard beforehand, the real thing will be easier.
So I remember when I had my Liverpool interview, they sent us like an email of like what was be in our like little mini, what are they called?
MMIs.
Yeah, the MMIs, what would be in them. So I remember getting things like ethics and maths. So like that's the sort of things I did. Like I just revised around ethics, revised around maths and stuff. It's kind of just prepare and obviously stay on top of like the news, because they do ask a lot of questions that, I mean, right now probably coronavirus would be something that they'd want to talk about in those little interviews.
Learn your ethical dilemmas.
Oh yeah, definitely do
the
that.
4 pillars.
Yeah, the four pillars. And like the ethical like euthanasia.
Yeah.
Like,
and like drop
kind of
them in,
ones.
even if like they haven't asked explicitly. Like be like, oh, I know about the 4 pillars.
Yeah.
Maleficence and all that.
Is that even
God, that was Maleficent, isn't that?
No, that's a film.
No, it was Maleficence, Beneficence.
Is it non-maleficent?
Non-maleficent. Justice.
Still doesn't know him.
I didn't have a family friend or anything like that. It was more just YouTube videos, watching the YouTube videos and seeing the scenarios, looking online and just seeing things like postcode lotteries and how they work and things like that nature, and just seeing what other people had gone through on Student Room is really the best way, I'd say.
I remember my school, like they put on like fake interviews for us.
Yeah.
There was only like 4 of us applying, so maybe that's why they could do it. But definitely try and ask your school if they can like replicate a scenario for you, because it's something that you've never really been experienced with.
If your school has the facilities, I know it's bad that some schools won't be able to do that for you, but my school was lucky enough to provide facilities to like simulate something like that kind of environment by bringing back pupils who have got into medicine. But I know that's not the case for everyone. But if there's resources available that kind of thing would help.
Thing is, yeah, practicing with actually doing the interview with someone that maybe you're not too familiar with, maybe a teacher or someone in the year with you, and just trying to answer those questions, and then coming up with some experiences that you can apply to a variety of situations.
Definitely, I don't know about other people, but like if you have at your local college or like your school, like people in the area that literally just were in the year above you who just got in, they're probably like the best people for advice. Like
100%.
they can probably give you like any notes they made.
They do really good books you can get that have like loads of practice questions, and I would get your parents just to sit down and ask you the questions and just like practice giving your answers. Ask them where you think that you could improve, write it down, go over it. Like writing out your answers to the questions does really help, and not to sort of learn that off and say it like word for word, but to have a vague idea for those like buzzword questions, like why would you do medicine, why this university, what makes you such a good candidate. Sort of having a vague idea of what you're going to say in beforehand really helps sort of get your best answer out in the interview scenario.
I think it's helpful to remember they're not looking for just one type of person. I think the idea is a medical student is like this like model person, and there's not this like, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and like it's okay to be yourself, and if you're not the most outgoing, that's okay.
There's things like you should definitely learn how to do things like calculations. They could easily come up, like basic anatomy, definitely got to hit that. Have a brief understanding of the NHS, how it works.
The hierarchy.
Yeah, have like an answer to all the standard questions like why do you want to be a doctor, what makes a good doctor.
You get so nervous because you're so young when you're being sat down in front of these people, like really smart, old, like adults who are expecting a lot of you, and you're so young at the time. Like it's really nervy, it's really hard to sort of give the best impression of yourself. So you need to be practicing, you need to be able to sell yourself to these people who just want, to see something. They want to see you for who you are, and you don't want to get the nerves get the better of you, so you want to be prepared to really give the best image of yourself.
Reflect upon your own experiences that you have. I think they really like to see that you've got experiences. So do have a think of these, try and tie them into your answers where you can, because that helps you stand out in a way.
When I was preparing, I remember thinking about the characteristics that they're looking for, so sort of like team worker, team player, this and this communication, and I remember for each of those points I would have like a couple of bullet points of things that I had done that applied to those points, or ways that I could sort of apply myself to that. And so that when I was in the interview, I could just think they're looking for this, and then go through those little tick boxes in my head and just tell them about them, which is quite useful.
Okay, prep answers for like group work, and an example of where you worked well in a group, and an example of where you worked well on your own.
Yeah.
That I actually did, like, as in it obviously won't be worded like that, but as long as you have like a general answer, you can pretty much put that into most of your...
Just try and think about the obvious things that they're going to ask, like those, and also they're definitely going to ask you something about like work experience and what you learn whilst you're on your work experience, and like any extracurricular things that you did and how that's like benefited you and how that will help when you come to uni.
Interview day is one of the most stressful kind of days. I was sweaty, but it was cold.
What are you going to be?
I was breaking it. Like I could not eat anything. I was literally just so nervous. But
tips for on the day of the interview is to, similar to exams, get a good night's sleep. There's not too much you're going to be able to do in the last few days, so just try and de-stress as much as you can.
Have a big breakfast. Try and not stress out. It's probably
I think it's easier said than done.
I think it's really important to remember that when you go into a station and you do mess up, it's okay to come out and be like, and just forget about it, because the next one is a complete new station. So that's something that really helped me. Like if I did mess up on a couple, like it's not a big deal. Like you're scored overall.
Yeah, like that's a good thing about MMIs. You mess up in one, you can forget about it, different interviewer, so it's fine. Whereas I think I had one university where it was a panel interview, and I got rejected after interview. But I think that definitely was because it was my first interview. I was so nervous, and you just have 3 people deciding your future, and if you don't come across well or you're nervous, like it's very hard to come back from that. Whereas the MMIs, I could be a different personality kind of in each thing. But you play to your strengths, like the maths section, I'm really bad at maths, so I really struggle with that. And then the next one would be like role playing or something, and like I'd be better at that. So it's just put on a different mask for each interview.
I don't know if you've ever had this advice, where like if you stand outside an interview station or something along those lines, and you literally like stand with like a bit of a power stance, and like no, like legit, I can't remember what kind of stance, but some sort of power stance, and you just like, you know, put your shoulders back, like stand up tall, and you like instantly feel way more confident than if you kind of, you know, a bit nervous, like, you know, your body feels a bit shy. So just like think those few seconds before that interview and go, oh, like stand confidently, and you'll feel more confident.
Yeah, very good. I've never done that, but
My biggest tip would be just be yourself. I think ultimately I always believe that if medicine is what you want to do, that will definitely come through in the way that you portray yourself if you're so passionate about it.
I'd say try and plan as much as you can leading up to it. So plan when you're getting up, what you're having for breakfast, plan how you're going to get to the interview, plan how much time it will take, plan your route. Because you want to eliminate everything you can control, you want to eliminate, and you want to be focused on that interview, on that exam, so that it's the only thing. You're not stressing about anything else, your mind isn't anywhere else. And that's going to be in the best position to really go and do your all and give it your best shot.
Just try and stay as calm as possible. I think I spoke to a few people while you, like, before you go into the interview, you're kind of waiting around with everyone, and it's quite nice if you like make some conversation with the person next to you, and like you'll find out they're just as nervous as you are.
Yeah.
And you're all in the same boat, and I think that helped calm me down a little bit.
And what did you guys wear to your interviews?
I wore a suit, I think.
Little black dress.
No, I think I wore trousers. I wore trousers.
No, I think I wore just like plain black trousers, pinstripe shirt and a blazer or something like that.
I think I wore that as well.
Pair of smart black shoes.
Blazer. It was a blazer. It was like a white. Oh no, I did a white shirt. I did a proper like.
Ooh,
it
yeah.
was proper like Oh, I looked like I was going to work.
Should you ask the boys this? Or was that a sexist question, I'm Bilal?
I think, in my opinion, I reckon don't dress up yourself too much. Like, don't bother wearing a suit. I reckon maybe a shirt and a jacket if possible.
Okay, no. Wear a suit. You need to look somewhat professional.
Yeah,
you have to be like
smart,
a 3-piece. Yeah, smart.
But like, don't look.
You don't have to overdo it, but you do have to look somewhat smart.
You want to look professional.
Smart. What you would wear if you were going on your F1 first job, I reckon. Because that's what.
Oh, that's a good. That's
what, you know, dress for the job you want. Yes.
Look, right, if you're a boy, don't wear what you think a doctor would wear. I think that looks awful. You know, people just think that that doctors always wear chinos and like tweed blazer. There's some absolute idiots that turned up at well, I mean, they might still be on the course, but I haven't seen them. So, you know, clothes didn't work for them unless they got accepted somewhere else. But I'd say if you're a lad, don't do the whole chino tweed situation. Just dress smart, black shirt.
They don't care per se about if you've got makeup or anything like that, or if you're looking dishevelled. Just make sure you look a bit smart, I guess.
Well kept.
Well, yeah.
Once you get into the rhythm of it, that's when it starts getting smoothly. So if you manage to like calm down, focus on the task at hand, and once you get that first station that goes well, the rest will just follow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a domino effect.
I used to think that if you don't say your answer in a certain amount of time, like it's kind of done. You know, when you have that awkward pause and you're like, oh, I'm kind of finished. Don't worry, like you can always say, oh, sorry, like this is what I think this is what I meant to say, or they're not going to be like, oh, it's time, like you can't say anything else. Like don't be afraid to go back and answer the question properly.
Show off all of your skills. Like, remember, you are a very talented individual.
Yeah.
So yeah, just try and be as confident as you can be. Like, I know it's a really horrible situation to be in.
If you are doing it online, I know it might feel a little bit difficult to portray who you are across through a camera and might feel a little bit artificial, but yeah, just you can still be yourself through a camera, so do bear that in mind, and yeah, I'm sure that will assist you in getting your place and getting you where you want to be.
And smile.
Yeah.
Smiling honestly just like makes a big difference, even though you might not think it.
Yeah, big deep breath and a smile when you walk in.